Just remind me.
I will.
Oh, we're on. Hold on a second, folks. Just never mind. I won't even do the open tonight. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast on this Monday night, the 19th of May. Yes, busy, 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 Mr. Rayo. We've got all sorts of severe weather going on in the Mississippi River Valley and the Central Plains. So you had a decent day today up by you. I had a decent day down here by me. But that's all going to change in short order.
It was a beautiful day out there today, Joe. Absolutely gorgeous. Tomorrow is not going to be all that bad. We'll have more in the way of cloud cover coming in during the afternoon. And then forget about it. Wednesday and Thursday, you know, wet with a capital letter W. And chilly, too. Readings on Wednesday and Thursday may have a difficult time getting much above 50 or 52 degrees.
Yeah,
What time of the year is this? Yeah, it's May, isn't it?
it's May.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not it's happened before when you get a setup like this. Yeah, the models overnight were they kind of not that they backed off so much, but they just sort of repositioned the low further northeast. Then the European came back today. Now it's got a pretty wound up low east of Cape May with a pretty rather tight pressure gradient. So winds at the coast are probably going to be pretty gusty come later Wednesday night into early Thursday. It's going to be very raw.
Yes, that is going to certainly be the word of the day. Raw. It's going to feel more
Raw,
like it's going to feel on Thursday. It's going to feel more like March 22nd as opposed to May 22nd.
right? And it will fall in my definition of gloom and doom.
I think I was saying to myself, Mr. Joe is going to be at least alluding to one or both of those days, Wednesday and Thursday, as gloomy and doomy.
Yes, I think that's a fair assessment. And I'm thinking now, at least for you, I'm thinking that the Saturday's kind of iffy in some respect, but I think Sunday and Monday might not be, particularly Monday. I think later in the weekend it should be okay.
I think Monday most definitely looks very, very nice. Sunday, not too bad. But with any luck, we might be able to avoid showers during the daylight hours on Sunday. Probably kind of a mix of sun and clouds. Backing up now. Saturday, you're right. There may still be a few showers around. Probably more clouds than sun on Saturday, and still kind of wet and kind of damp and somewhat dreary on Friday. So the holiday weekend starts off not so great, but as time progresses, as we move through the weekend, the weather will slowly improve so that by the time we get to the actual holiday on Monday, that'll be the best day of all.
Yeah, and temperatures will start climbing a little higher each day, but they're still going to be well below normal.
Well, yeah, the normal at this time of the year now is around 72, at least here in the lower Hudson Valley. So we start off with temps only in the 50s on Thursday, move into the 60s perhaps on Friday, work our way up into the low and mid 60s on Saturday, maybe mid and upper 60s Sunday, 70s, not out of the question for Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm just taking a quick look, at least from me in the southeast and North Georgia. It looks pretty good. There's a couple of days here and there where we're going to have to deal with some showers and thunderstorms along the way, but the weekend overall it looks okay. I mean, there might be some showers and storms around on Saturday, scattered. Uh, Maybe again Sunday evening into Sunday night, and Monday late in the day. Probably a better chance that there could be some showers and storms, but it's not going to be you know because it does get like that sometimes when you get a big high that wedges down. It's not quite that like that here. When it does, it's our version of gloom and doom here in the North Georgia mountains. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and to those of you who are not on the chat board but are eagerly listening and lurking around in the background. We adore you too here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. which you can watch Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around. So do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And if you like the show, hit the like button. And if you really like the show, you can hit the tip jar like Scott Briller just did. Thank you, Scott. It's that time again. It's our prediction for the number of 90-degree days for New York City this summer. The highest was 39. The lowest, actually, depending on how you define the summer, there were a couple of June, July, August stretches where there were no 90-degree days, which is not, it sounds like it should hardly ever happen. It does happen from time to time, but apparently the lowest he has is 1 and the average is 15. I haven't really thought about this yet. So I don't know if you have you have some ideas.
No, I haven't really given it too much thought. Um, and in fact, according to Rob Friedowitz, who is really, I think, more knowledgeable about New York City climatology than most anybody else, he says actually the average number of 90-degree days we get at Central Park is 17, not 15. But regardless, I haven't really given it much thought. Anything below 17 or 16 90-degree days to me would be a Garden of Eden summer.
All
But
right.
in recent years, we've had, our fair share of not only heat but also humidity as well. So,
Yeah.
let's see.
All right. I'm going to bring up the watches and warnings. Joe Rayo's going to be setting up the local radars, so he'll be ready to go momentarily. But in the meantime, it's kind of a busy night tonight in the land of severe weather because we have a lot of it going on. You'll notice on the watches and warnings map all that yellow from eastern Nebraska through East Kansas and Oklahoma and north central Texas, as well as western Missouri and northwestern Arkansas, all under tornado watches. And there are and have been numerous severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings that have been issued this evening by this weather system that is moving to the east. And in fact, I'm just going to give a quick look here on Tornado HQ. And at the moment, we have 33 severe thunderstorm warnings, 8 tornado warnings, 1 in Arkansas, either one of them. So a total of 41 warnings that are at work right now. 42, because we just got a new one. 1 in Arkansas, 12 in Kansas, 8 in Missouri, 5 in Nebraska, 2 in Texas, and 16 in Oklahoma. Flash flood watches are up as well in parts of southern Missouri and northwestern Arkansas, also across parts of central and eastern Kentucky into western West Virginia. Yes, those are frost advisories up for northern Pennsylvania and much of southern and southwestern New York. We've got red flag warnings in New Mexico, West Texas, and eastern Arizona, and for a few counties in north central California. But it's all about the radar tonight. And I'm going to here's a wider view, and you can see all the yellow boxes of severe thunderstorm and also the red boxes that are coming and going with various tornado warnings. And Joe's going to bring up the local radars for you, and we'll take a look at what's going on specifically, Mr. Rayo.
Okay, we'll do that right now as soon as you turn on the sharing.
Oh, oh, I've one has forgotten. Okay, go ahead, because I'm going to go put my clothes in the dryer while you're pontificating.
Yeah.
I'll be back in about 60 seconds.
Boy, I tell you.
I have to
All
run.
right. Okay, so we're first looking at the radar from Omaha, Nebraska, and I would assume that any particular thunderstorm cell that you see on this radar that is of a shade of red is likely to produce, or at least has the very strong potential of producing, not just damaging straight line winds, but also possibly some funnel cloud and tornadic activity. And you could see moving to the north, actually, northwest of Omaha. If give it another maybe 15 minutes, some of that activity will actually be crossing through downtown Omaha, Nebraska. It's also flaring up in terms of radar activity over extreme southeastern sections of Nebraska, and also heading for the adjacent northern and western sections of Missouri. There are some rather heavy duty showers and storms also working their way north into portions of Iowa. Most of the activity seems to be moving on a south southwest to north northeast track. And again, you could see that this is the zone that is under a tornado watch right now, and you can well see why, with some of this activity again showing some rather potential strong outbursts of convection, heavy duty rains probably, and hail, and again, possible damaging winds. So that's Omaha. Let's take a look now at some other spot that's not too far away. We'll go into Pleasantville or Kansas City, Missouri, Pleasant Hill, Kansas. And you can see that here there's activity that is spreading or crossing through the border of Kansas and on into Missouri. Some heavy duty activity again showing up. Again, this is over in extreme southeastern Nebraska, northern sections of Kansas, and also again into portions of Missouri. A lot of this activity again showing signs of very heavy duty wind, hail, severe weather, and again this area too under tornadic or tornado watch activity. And so that's an area that if you're living or watching us now in this particular zone, you're probably well aware of the potential and should be watching your local weather very, very carefully in the coming hours. Now, actually, if you go into Iowa, the advisories are not for tornado, but more just for severe thunderstorm activity. And although any severe thunderstorm always has the potential of spawning a tornado, you see this activity again moving from south to north across southern and central sections of Iowa. And again, wherever you see the deep shades of red, that's where the activity is at its worst in terms of producing potential damaging winds and possible tornadic activity. Let's go over into, well, let's see, further south. Let's go into Oklahoma. We'll go to Tulsa and or Oklahoma City, actually, and you can see a lot of this activity. Indeed, look at all this red flaring up. That is indicative, certainly, of tornadic activity. Now, Oklahoma City is pretty much out of it. This is all for areas mostly south and east of Oklahoma City, apparently moving into the southern and eastern sections of Oklahoma. And all of this activity, again, racing along, I would say at about 20 or 30 miles per hour, if not even faster than that. And again, a lot of the activity showing signs of severe weather. There are numerous, as Joe mentioned, thunderstorm and tornadic warnings that are up for this region or this zone. And let's go to one more location. We're going to go into northeastern Texas, and you can see on the Dallas-Fort Worth radar, Dallas is out of it, but all the way up near the border of Texas and Oklahoma, you can see the activity we just looked at in Oklahoma. And this activity very, very significant, again, with possible damaging winds, possible tornadic activity, and again, crossing over the borderline from northern or north central Texas into southern sections of Oklahoma. So a very active night tonight if you live in northeastern Texas, the eastern half of Oklahoma, extreme northwestern Arkansas, western sections of Missouri, eastern Kansas, eastern sections of Nebraska, and also a slot of northern Missouri and southern Iowa. All of those areas and regions I just mentioned under the gun, so to speak, over the next several hours for the potential of possible heavy weather in terms of thunderstorms with damaging winds, large hail, downpours, and yes, tornadic activity as well.
All right, very good. And I'm going to go over to the satellite loop because you can see the lightning strikes really well here tonight. There's quite a bit of them, a ton of them actually, from all the way up into Minnesota, all the way down into north central Texas, and particularly, as Joe mentioned, with what's going on in eastern Oklahoma. Some areas getting absolutely clobbered with severe thunderstorms, and at least one confirmed tornado that I saw on one of the warnings. Because you get these tornado warnings, and they usually say, because they're off the Doppler, pointing out that there's a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. So they they issue the tornado warning. But there is, well, about 1 minute ago in Adair and Cherokee counties in Oklahoma, a severe thunderstorm with strong low-level rotation that could produce a tornado at any time was located there. And then earlier, and it's moving northeast at 50. I mean, these things are kind of flying at the speed limit here. And there was one earlier that's about to expire. This is going to expire at 7:51. So at 8 o'clock Eastern time, this tornado warning is going to expire for Haskell, Latimer, and Pittsburgh counties in Oklahoma. A confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was located 5 miles south of Alderson, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. So I'm sure there are going to be more warnings to come as we go through the evening hours and into the overnight hours. So we will, of course, be paying close attention to how all this severe weather develops. And here's a wider radar view. There's actually a band of showers moving southwestward in northern New England, and you can see them across Vermont and into New Hampshire, and then out into the coastal waters to the northeast of Boston. But there's nothing on the radar going south of there. Some showers in eastern North Carolina. Then you've got that Maine area. And of course, you can also see that arc that runs from Minnesota back into the Dakotas, because that's where the low center is and the upper low is. And all of this is, pushing slowly eastward. But across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, at least for now, radars are pretty quiet. The Storm Prediction Center, a moderate risk. We have those tornado watches that are up in the yellow and the red boxes that you see there. A moderate risk of severe weather was put up yesterday for this zone, and it's certainly verifying. Uh, I guess maybe they could have even gone to a high risk in some places if they so chose. But there you have it. And if we just take the radar slugs and go take that off, you'll see it's a pretty extensive area from north central Texas going all the way up into southern Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and western Illinois. The moderate zone is southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, just about the entire eastern half of Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, and extreme northern Texas. There's also an area of slight risk for me here in North Georgia, and they kind of talked about it in the discussion that the biggest threat was probably going to be not, well, the strong, possible strong winds, but hail could be an issue. And it's a small area of slight risk in southeast Tennessee, North Georgia, northwestern South Carolina, and a small portion of southwestern North Carolina. Now, for tomorrow, everything shifts eastward. So we've got enhanced risk, southern Kentucky, which I'm sure they are not thrilled about this at all, considering Kentucky has been like, ground zero for severe weather these last couple of months, and they're going to go through it all over again. All of Tennessee, northwest Georgia, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, all under enhanced risk. The slight risk goes a little bit further east and then further northwest into Missouri, Illinois, central and southern Illinois, central and southern Indiana. And that comes with a 10% tornado risk in that enhanced risk zone and a pretty large area of 5% that extends up into central Illinois and central Indiana. And then on day 3, we have a marginal risk. The general thunderstorm line just touches Cape May and then kind of arcs northward in western Pennsylvania and Ohio, and is a marginal risk in eastern West Virginia, much of Virginia, eastern North Carolina, coastal South Carolina, and coastal Georgia and northern Florida. And that's all, it's responding to the fact that there is going to be a coastal low that's going to develop out of all of this. And as we take a look at what WPC has in terms of rainfall, they kind of juiced it up a bit, Joe. They've got everybody gets at least an inch to an inch and a quarter, but they have an area of an inch and a half in southeastern New England and an area of an inch and a half plus across northern and central New Jersey, and also back through almost all of Pennsylvania, and even some 2.5 inch areas being indicated there. And then, of course, you see, in addition to what they've gotten in the last couple of days, big rains in an additional some areas 5 inches or more. And of course, when you get, we're in this time of year, and I always like to remind everybody that when we see these general broad brush forecasts, that when you're dealing with convection, particularly if it's of the slow moving variety, uh, these amounts can be easily doubled in some local areas. So I think that's one with the stuff that's going on up in the middle in the Mississippi Valley and in the plains, and tomorrow in the Ohio Valley, that certainly applies. The rain that we're seeing in the Northeast is really more about the coastal low and not really about convection. So the rainfall forecast is smoother and easier to predict. The Southwest is dry, not too much going on in Florida or along the Gulf Coast. So um, low pressure off of Nova Scotia on the European is finally pulling out, which is allowing this next low to try to move. It's amazing how these lows really just want to go north, and in this particular case, because we talked about this yesterday, Joe, we got that block over Iceland to Greenland. It's kind of forcing these things to go further south. So the low gets into northern Illinois and then it just can't go anywhere. So all the energy is forced southeastward. The European would suggest that rain reaches New York City maybe around 6 or 7 a.m. and then takes a little while to push across Long Island and into southern New England. But the low is going to redevelop. You see it there in northeast Ohio. A new center forms off the Delaware coast, and the gradient gets very tight Thursday morning along the New Jersey coast and for Long Island, and eventually over in southeastern New England. And also, you see the European generates a big area of heavy rain during the day Thursday. So definitely, once it starts on Wednesday, it's gloom and doom through Thursday. And the problem for the Friday and into Saturday is the fact that the low takes forever to get out of the way, and then you've got the upper trough that you're going to have to deal with that's going to hang around into the weekend and get reinforced. So the question is going to be, you get these bicycle spokes that rotate around, and you can see there's some showers and patches of showers on Friday, a little bit less, but still there on Saturday. And then Sunday morning, there's something that drops down from upstate New York that kind of gets to Long Island and falls apart. And then it's all gone after that. And then it looks fine going into Memorial Day.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Backing up a few minutes earlier, you had talked about convection here in the Northeast. I don't really think there's going to be much chance across much of Pennsylvania, New York State, New England, because the air is just going to be so cool, so stable. Just looking for periods of rain, nothing showery or convective. If you want that, again, you probably will have to go further south, down toward southern Jersey and into Maryland and Virginia and North Carolina. That's where you may get some meteorological pyrotechnics, some fireworks to occur with thunderstorms. But again, I think, Joe, Wednesday and Thursday, as you had just mentioned, gloom and doom, clouds, unseasonably chilly, damp, periods of rain, temperatures no better than the mid or maybe even lower 50s. It is really not going to be a very pleasant picture out there for Wednesday and for Thursday. Also, I was thinking too, we were talking about the convection and the threat of severe weather, thunderstorms, and tornadoes, especially over sections of Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma. I think that the thought is that if you were living in Oklahoma right now and you were to flick on your local television station, which probably, since they're an hour behind us, they're probably just coming out of uh, local news, maybe still doing national news. But in this type of situation, I would suspect that many of the local stations in Oklahoma are probably on standby now, doing live coverage of the potential for tornadic activity. It's a different situation out there, the way they handle severe weather, as opposed to, let's say, here in the New York area. When there's severe weather here in New York, if it happens to be occurring or is about to occur, let's say during Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, the local meteorologist might get maybe a minute to get squeezed in during a normal commercial break and go, and here's where we're expecting the tornado, and he's got to get it all in, because if he doesn't, and if any part of the show, be it, Wheel of Fortune or whatever, is preempted, immediately the switchboard at ABC Channel 7 will light up with people saying, "Hey, I want you to watch Wheel of Fortune. What's going on? You're talking about the stupid weather." That's how it is here in the Northeast. But out in the middle of the country, and especially again in Oklahoma or Kansas, where tornadoes mean, you may not have a house if things don't fall correctly for you. Uh, they will just wipe out the regular TV schedule, and they'll have their regular or local meteorologist or meteorologists out there covering the storm until the threat is over. It's a heck of a lot different out there in the
Well, they
zone
do
of
that here.
possible
They do that
thunderstorms and
here.
tornadoes, as opposed to here in the Northeast.
Yeah,
Here in
they
the
do.
Northeast, we're more sophisticated.
Yeah. Well, no, they do that here. In fact, there was, I don't, it was a couple of months ago, there was a severe weather outbreak during the overnight, like at, you know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it lasted till about 7 or 8 a.m. And I happened to get up. I happened to be up at like 4 a.m. or 4:30, and put the TV on, and it was raw. I mean, that's all the nonstop coverage, nonstop. They just take over, and they go at it. And the Atlanta stations basically cover the whole state. And
Right,
this is not a small state. It's 300 miles from top to bottom. So
right.
and 100 and some odd counties. So but they cover it all. So yeah, the weather coverage here, is totally different than the weather coverage up your way.
The
Say,
mindset is so much
certainly when it
different.
comes to severe weather, anyway. 'Cause and even with snow, I mean, when snow comes, it's crazy, and it might only be an inch or two, but that's what they do.
Things are so much different now than they were just 10 years ago. On Cablevision, for example, is no longer Cablevision, it's now Altice, the new owners. And we had Channel 61, the traffic and weather channel. I've said this more often than not, but I'll say it again. 2 minutes of traffic, 2 minutes of weather. If we had major updates in the weather, advisories or watchers or warnings, you got it right then and there. We were told, the hierarchy said, you got to get that stuff on as quickly as possible. It doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning. If there's a warning or an advisory, get it on and let our viewers know. And of course, now it's a whole different story. From midnight to 6 a.m., no weather, no traffic. It's all infomercial. And
Yeah.
I've had more than a couple of occasions where, Joe, it's felt like my house was shaking at 3 o'clock in the morning. Tremendous thunder, lightning, wind, or whatever. And just out of habit, I just flicked on the TV, flicked on Channel 61, and I'm watching Chef Tony chopping away at an onion. It's so much different in terms of, it used to be you, the viewer, were important. You mattered. We tried and strived to get you the latest weather information. And now, if they can get more money by showing a guy chopping onions, they'll go and do that.
Then they'll chop onions.
Yes,
So far today, by the way, 5 confirmed tornadoes, 70 of strong winds, and 162 reports of hail. And I'm just looking here on Tornado HQ. A new tornado warning was issued 13 minutes ago for Washington and Adair counties in Arkansas and Oklahoma. A confirmed tornado 4 miles north of Bunch, moving northeast at 60 miles an hour.
Wow.
So, and then there's one right before that that was issued a couple of minutes before for Adair and Cherokee, uh, where the thunderstorm with a strong low-level rotation could produce a tornado at any time over Cherokee Landing State Park, moving northeast at 50. Now, I don't know, and these might be the same. It might be the same thunderstorm that they got these two tornado warnings up. But at the moment, 29 severe weather warnings, three in Arkansas, one in Iowa, eight in Kansas, seven in Missouri, three in Nebraska, nine in Oklahoma, one in Tennessee, and one in Texas. And by the way, it is 8:08, right? 8:08 or 8:06. I can't see. 8:06 Eastern time. So if you're watching this overnight, obviously what you're seeing was from earlier. So make sure if you want to check for severe weather in your local area, make sure you go to weather.gov and to your local National Weather Service office to make sure you get the latest weather information. I was just looking at the European upper air for the longer range. It was kind of interesting because this is usually the time of year where the westerlies start to pull up, and then, but in some years they don't. And when we run through the upper air, Joe, after this trough eventually pulls out, which really doesn't pull out until Monday, another trough is going to swing in later in the week. And let me just make sure I got the map on the air here. Hold on a second. Yes, I do. Um, Another deep trough and cutoff forms in the Great Lakes later next week. Wait, I'm sorry. I got my dates screwed up. Okay, never mind. So this is what's going on now. Here's our upper trough cutoff low that forms off the New Jersey coast. Then that pulls away, but we still have this trough over the weekend. Starts to pull out on Monday. There's still some lagging troughing into the middle part of next week. But as we move through later next week and next weekend, another deep trough, a negatively tilted trough. I mean, it kind of looks like something you'd see in the wintertime from Lake Superior southeast to South Carolina. I mean, it's a really impressive negatively tilted trough there. And another cutoff dives into the eastern part of the United States as we go into the beginning of June. So, I mean, if you're looking for a hot weather pattern, you're not going to get it, not at least for the next 2 weeks. It is a and of course, given the time of year, uh, wouldn't shock me, depending on how things set up after Memorial Day and we start to go into the month of June, if we get these deep troughs in the Northeast, you're probably going to have some severe weather outbreaks that are going to start to pop up in the Mid-Atlantic and in the Northeast.
Yeah, it does not look like any kind of signs, even on the Climate Prediction Center site. There does not look like to be any kind of sign or signals that we're going to be seeing any exceptionally hot weather or exceptionally warm weather in this part of the country, maybe right on into the early part of June. So if you're looking for that type of setup, you're going to have a little time to wait. It looks like it's going to be either cooler than normal or near normal for the next few weeks.
Miss Blue Ocean says, "Do we remember reporting on this kind of tornado activity when we were working?" Yeah. Oh, sure. In fact, I remember one time over at FiOS, as I was reassured by Terrence Cardinal Fitzgerald that you never have tornado warnings because we used to work, we were doing television for three different zones: Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and for New Jersey, and we were doing all three of those stations on cable coming out of one place. So you would sort of record one after another, and you took off that night. And
Yeah,
I was by myself, and I remember talking to Brian and said, I'm a little nervous about the fact that we could have this severe weather. And Brian says, oh, you never have tornado warnings going on in all three zones at the same time. Well, you did
guess
that
what?
night. You did that night. I don't know
Yep.
how I managed it, but I got them all on. But it was funny because it was one of those situations where you just don't have time to think. You just kind of, because you're in storm mode, so you just kind of get the information and you do it. But yeah, so they had New Jersey, Hudson Valley, and Long Island all had the tornado warnings working all at the same time. So, and as I said, Mr. Rayo was off that night. So, anyway, you got Briller Jeopardy?
Yes, I do. Thank you, by the way, for making me feel so good now.
Now, that's why I'm here, Joe.
I feel
That's what I live
guilty.
for.
And this is for something that happened, what, just like 7 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was probably about 6 or 7 years. Maybe it was in 2018,
Yeah, something like that.
something like that.
All right. On this Briller Jeopardy, ladies and gentlemen, we have the average yearly rainfall in the following. We have 6 cities, 5 and a bonus city or location. So this is the average yearly rainfall, Joe,
Yeah.
and we will start with Central Park.
All right. What did we say? For years, New York City's rainfall average, yearly rainfall average was something like 36 or 37 inches. But but since the 70s, we've gotten much more rain than we used to. So I'll say 44.
That is not a bad guess, except it's not enough, believe it or not.
Oh, so I'm just too low. I'm about
Yes.
as low as they get. Well, Chuck Cardillo says 50. David
Chuck,
Fuller,
that's a very good guess, Chuck, except you're a little too high.
David Fuller said
David
47.
David Fuller is in Snake Country with that 47.
All right,
And
so
in
look,
fact, Latex Dreams hit it right on the nose.
48.
48. There
So
you
did
go.
Mike Waterhouse Bonsai.
Yep. By that, Mike Waterhouse Bonsai, 45.7. I don't know of anybody on the chat board who will actually go so far as to go in,
Fractions.
tenths of an inch. But anyway, so the next one on the list is Hartford, Connecticut. Average
I'm going to say
yearly.
it's probably in the same neighborhood, so I'll say 47.
That's Snake Country, Joe, for Hartford.
Okay. Um, David Fuller said 49,
Nope, too
and
high.
Frank R 44, Waterhouse Bonsai 46,
But Rich Rotmansky has it, and so
46,
does John Melander, and Maggie P, and Mike
and
Waterhouse Bonsai, and
right,
Chuck Cardillo too. 46.
46.
There you go. 46. Now, how about Houston?
Oh God. Hmm.
Mosquito City. I
I'll say
could only.
I'll say 60.
60 is a good guess, but that's a little bit too much.
Okay. I was going to go originally 58, but then I pushed it to 60. Melander's got 56, Gaffney 55, Davidson 54. Who hit it?
John Melander with 56.
56.
56. Now we go to Mary Richards' favorite city, Minneapolis.
Minneapolis? I don't know. I have no idea. I'll say 38.
Joe, that's a heck of a great guess. It's not right, or it's not good. It's just a bit too high, but it's still a pretty good guess.
Bonsai's at 36. Melander's at 34. Crescitapedia at 35.
Well, guess what? Mr. Melander is right again with
34.
34. I'm going to have to adjust this bell. For whatever reason, it's not ding-a-linging the way it used to. All right, number 5, Las Wages, Nevada. Las Vegas. How much do you think Las Vegas gets annually in terms of rainfall.
Is it a double digit number?
No,
All right. 6.
good guess, but a little bit too high. But Rich Rothmansky, in fact, he put it up twice.
4.
Four, four. I can't
4
believe
minutes
that.
in,
Can you
4
imagine?
minutes in one. So
Can you
basically,
imagine?
it's a little over a hundredth of an inch a day.
It's crazy. 4 inches for the entire year. And just the other day, parts of our viewing area had that much in like 24 hours.
I know. I know.
Amazing. Bonus. Bonus is Nantucket.
Oh, please. Um, God. For the 5 people who live there. Um, hmm. Well, Boston's like I think I remember Boston was 44. What'd you say New York City was 46?
Yes.
I gotta think it's got to be a little higher than that. So I'll say 51.
Uh, that's a bit too high, Joe.
Too high. Okay. Um, let's see. How about well, Rothmancy says 42.
Well, that is snake country,
Okay. Frank Scalera said 43.
and Frank Scalera is right. 43. That's the annual rainfall amount for
Well, you
Nantucket
got to
Island.
ring the bell for Frank Scalera.
I'm going to do it right now. How's that sound,
Good.
Uncle Frank?
All right, so I'm down to my last flower bed, which I have the plants for, and that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And I'm hopefully will be done by the end of the day tomorrow, and my project will have been completed. And then I'll wait for the credit card bills to come in June and July to pay for all of this stuff. I probably
I had,
between mulch and plants, I've easily spent like 11 or $1,200. It's crazy how expensive this stuff is.
but it's fun.
Oh no, I enjoy doing it,
Yes.
especially since I'm getting lots of compliments from the pictures that I've been posting. So, um, yeah, I will tell you this. I was sitting out on my deck about an hour or so ago, overlooking my yard, and you know something. It makes a huge. Thank you, Christina Pedia. It really does make a huge difference. It really made me feel good to look out into my yard and see all these colors and the daylilies that I planted are all blooming like crazy and everything else is in bloom. So I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So you know what? Everybody does things that make them happy. Not everybody does the same thing. And you know, I don't go to concerts. So I don't spend 500 or $1,000 to go to a ball game. So I spend it on my yard. And I'm very, very happy with that. So anyhow,
I'm
um,
happy that you're happy.
yes. So we're done, and I guess we're back tomorrow night at the usual shopping time, right?
Yes, we are.
7:35. So everybody have a great night and a great day tomorrow, and we'll see you on tomorrow night at 7:35. Bye bye.
Bye bye.